This is the stuff, like you said, it can be used with any strategy out there.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, how do you start? And so that's what I'm going to teach you guys, how you can start. And for me, speaking at AZREIA is like coming home, because this is where I got my start,
Awesome.
Over a decade ago. And I was like so many people. I mean, I look at when I speak it, my job is to get you out of seminar land and out there doing deals.
You're listening to the AZREIA Show. If you're looking for quality real estate investing information that you can trust, you've found it. Stay tuned and join the tens of thousands of members that have already benefited from AZREIA, your home for education, market information, support, and networking opportunities that will advance your real estate investing career.
Hello, AZREIA family. How are you guys doing today? It's another beautiful day here in the great state of Arizona, and we're loving all of the sunshine like always. So on today, on another podcast, we have our co-host, Mike Del Prete. How you doing, Mike?
Hello.
And our special guest today is Maria Giordano. She is a professional marketer. She is a negotiator. She is definitely a deal finder and deal creator. So what we want to do on today, she has some very special things that we want to talk about. But first, before we jump into everything, Maria, how are you doing today?
I am doing fantastic. Thank you for having me.
Great. So I know you have a strong history with AZREIA, definitely been with AZREIA for many years, used to teach the core skills course. So what have you been up to lately? Kind of fill us in, bring us into your world.
Oh, I've been loving this new real estate market that we're in. Like most investors out there, when COVID hit, it was like, okay, let's step back. Let's see where things are going. Beginning last year, jumped right back in, and things have just been, taken off. It is just an awesome time really to be a real estate investor. And there are so many more deals out there than people realize, which makes it even more fun.
Yeah. And you've been through the cycles. So you've been through up cycles, down cycles, back up. So kind of give us a brief history of what you've been doing and how you got started as a real estate investor.
Sure. Well, real estate honestly was the absolute last thing I've ever wanted to get into. I grew up in a family, my father was in construction, master electrician, foreman, all that kind of stuff. My mom was in insurance. And even back then, and this is going back to the 70s when I was a little kid, they knew that real estate was like the answer. Problem is we didn't have this thing called the internet and background checks and all the other great stuff, tools that we have now to make it much safer of an investment and much easier to find good tenants and people to work with. And so when I was a kid, real estate, basically, my parents had townhouses, tenants, and I saw how they shoot them up and spit them out. I got to be that kid that went into the house that got to clean up all the nastiness after, the cat feces, all that gross stuff. I got to be there when my father was building the townhouses. And then I got to see my parents go into commercial and how not the best towns, government claimed eminent domain and all this other stuff because they wanted this piece of prime riverfront land, and how it wiped out their commercial business. And eventually it actually ended their marriage. So I decided I was going to go to college, got divorced, ended up actually on public assistance, moved out to Arizona where I met the love of my life, my husband, Gary, who was passionate about real estate. And I was like, I'm going to go back to college and get a second degree. Because again, I didn't want to get into real estate. So I got a second degree in like 18 months. After that, my husband's like, but what about me? Can we do this now? And at that point, I've already been going to AZREIA for like 2 years. Okay. And I was like, you still want to do this? You don't understand. It's risky. We can't do this. We're not going to find properties. Tenants are evil. All this stuff that was ingrained in my mind from, early on. And
right.
There's bad contractors, all this kind of stuff. So lo and behold, I got myself a mentor, Tony Young's. And I thought, okay, if I'm going to do this, I'm all in or not at all. And so I went all in. We got our first property. And from that property, it was a fix and flip.
So real
and this
quick,
is how
Maria,
green I was, guys.
Real quick, Maria, before we get into that first property, if I can remember, you're from Wisconsin, right? You're a Midwesterner?
I am from Wisconsin.
All right. So we got that in common. I'm from Chicago.
Go Packers for the Super Bowl.
Okay, I'm with you. I'm with you on that. Now, I'm from Chicago, never been a Bears fan. I've always been a Packers fan. So we have two things in common now. We have two things in common now. And then the third thing that we have in common, yes, my mother also, she jumped out there and got started in real estate, didn't know what she was doing. So as kids, me and my brother used to have to go in, clean up the properties and empty stuff. And we hated it at the time. But now we look back and we see the lessons that was learned from it. So just wanted to let you know that we got some mutual things in common here.
That's awesome, Marcus.
So
yeah, and it's amazing. And you know, my kids, I kind of like rinsed and repeat. They started working on my properties too. So
yep. That's what I'm doing also.
Yep. So definitely. But it's interesting because when I got that first property, I was so green that I went and got a home inspection. And this property had a great skylight. It was the sky. I mean, there was like no roof. So, you know, I'm kind of green, didn't know what I was doing, jumped in, got private money from the get-go because, you know, the market crashed. My husband lost most of his 401k, our nest egg, you know, all that kind of stuff. So, I mean, that was my other fear is, oh my gosh, what if we fail kind of thing? Well, so I sent that property inspection report to my father, who's a tradesman, who had just retired.
Wow.
He thought I was nuts. He's going through this thing and it says electrical, substandard, roof, hole, you know, all this stuff. And he's like, I raised an idiot, he was thinking. So he got on the next flight and flew out to Arizona to try and stop me. And that property, oh, and by the way, it was also in the summertime.
Oh, wow.
So here's my father just retired coming out to Arizona, not in the nice winter to be a snowbird, but in 110-degree heat to work on a property that has no air conditioning, nothing. And that property actually became our first daddy-daughter property of many more to come. And after that, my father was hooked. I made my entire salary as a registered nurse, gosh, in like 45 days. Because we flipped it in a couple of weeks, got amazing buyers right away, just like today's market. When you do the right things, you attract the right buyers, and we closed in like 45 days, and I made almost as much as what I made as a registered nurse. And then from there, it was just like I was working full-time as a nurse and doing real estate investing and juggling 4 kids at the time. Now I have 5.
Wow.
And trying to make it all work. And before I knew it, because, you know, marketing is key to everything. And I got good at marketing and I kept going at it. And I think most real estate investors, especially newbies, they get one property and then they let their marketing crumble.
Yep.
Well, because I kept up with my marketing, I went from that first property to doing 6 or more deals a month like this. And I spent my birthday in Kauai, which by the way, at the time did not have internet really. It was dial-up. Did not have regular fax machines. It was the paper roller. I couldn't do transactions with my bank, which was back here in the United States because they didn't have a Bank of America. And so I was doing these transactions and I turned to my husband. I said, okay, we get one more property. I'm going to have to quit. And sure enough, my phone rings. It's another deal. So we get off the plane. When we get back to Phoenix, I go to resign. I was working for Scottsdale Healthcare at the time, and this is in October, and I go to resign, and we go right from the airport to the bank to close on a deal, make sure the funds would work, because we couldn't do it in Kauai.
Wow. So Maria, real quick, how did you, because now we know you're doing multiple deals, you know, a month, everything like that. How did you find that first deal? That first deal with the awesome skylight, how did you find that one?
You know, it sounds so stupid, but on my way to work and on my way home, and if I went to my kids' soccer games or whatever, I would always drive for dollars. That's what you always hear about. And there's properties everywhere. I mean, my kids point them out now. And it was a property on a corner that had a tarp over it. And the tarp was one of many tarps where there were holes in the roof. And I wrote it down. Maricopa.gov is awesome. I mean, I travel and do business all over the country. We have one of the best websites, government websites, for looking up who the property owner is, who the taxes go to. Looked it up. I discovered it was bank owned. It was a foreclosure at the time, and the bank had had it for about a year. So me not knowing what to do or ever being told, oh, you can't talk to banks or any of that other nonsense we hear, I got the email and it was a small regional bank. It was actually a bank on the East Coast, a little small bank here. And I sent the loss mitigation person an email, kind of like what I do today on my subject twos and different stuff in short sales that I still do. And so I sent him an email telling him, hey, I'm interested in this property at 123 Main Street. Would you be against taking, and I forget what price it was, I think like 100,000 is what I offered at the time. And about 30 days or so later, I want to say, I get a phone call. And this phone call is from him. And I'm like, I'm sorry, I look at so many properties. What was that address again?
Right. Mm-hmm.
Because he was calling me to find out if my offer was still good.
Okay.
And I'm just like, oh, heck yes. And I got my private money guy to give me the money, and bada bing, bada bang, we closed on it, I think 2-3 weeks later, and that became my first flip.
Okay.
Awesome.
So there's a couple of things there to chew on. One is look for blue tarps, guys. When you're out there, you're driving
after monsoons.
Yeah. Look for tarps on the roof. Look for, terrible shingles, busted shingles around the ground. Look for, what else could we look for, Maria?
Oh, tall grass.
Okay.
I mean, in Arizona, weeds everywhere. Another great tell is cars that are parked in the driveway and the house just looks kind of lonely, like it hasn't been being lived in. And the car has like an inch of, crud on it. Those have been good ones. When I drive around, sometimes if I find a property that looks distressed, I'll look. If it's a burn house or a house that had fire or smoke damage, sometimes under the eaves, you can see a little bit of char.
Yep.
So those are all really, really good things.
Yeah, you see the cobwebs coming off the cars, or I look for, the curtains, Green Bay Packer curtains, like those old, they don't have regular blinds. So I got
the nasty sheets.
Yep. So now another good thing that you had spoke about was you didn't use a traditional method, because that's what a lot of people say.
I was broke.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't one of those persons that could afford thousands of dollars in mailers.
Yeah. And just you're driving for dollars, a lot of people say, well, the banks will never talk to you. Don't try and get a foreclosure. Don't try and deal with the banks. You threw that all out the window and you said, you know what? I'm just going to take a shot. I'm going to try, see what happens. And for 30 days, crickets, nothing. But then all out of the blue, you get a call and now you got a deal. So guys, listen to Maria's story. That's definitely how a lot of these deals happen. You put in the offer, you don't hear anything for a while. And then all of a sudden someone says, you know what? Okay, the time is right. Let's move.
So let's talk about that. So especially for someone maybe that's newer, this is a business, right? It's just not, real estate investing is an overall business, and all businesses are the same, right? So you got marketing, you're doing all this work, you're excited, you find that first deal, right? And you kind of push everything, you kind of stop everything else. So can you kind of maybe lead into like it's not always easy to get the first deal, but to always continuously get deals is something else. So can you expand on what you had to do in your marketing and business to keep getting deals after that?
Well, the first thing, so while I'm flipping this property and whatever, my husband and I are both big systems persons. Me from being, we're both in medicine, but also from him being in the Air Force. He's a retired lieutenant colonel. I forget, I'm so bad. Former C-130 navigator. Anyhow, obviously they are all about their systems and their checklists and their processes. So are we in the hospital. And so what I realized right away, and before the book, the one thing and all that came out, was I had a busy life. I was working at hospital nights, days, weekends, all this different stuff. And my goal at the time when I got into this is, okay, if I could just be able to take my kids, get them up in the morning, feed them breakfast, and put them on the bus or take them to school. That was my goal. That's how simple it was. And then from there, I realized, well, marketing is key to every business. You've got to be marketing in some way. Well, I'm busy. how can I time block this in to do it? And that's when I realized on my way to work, I would drive a neighborhood that I wanted to be like my honeypot, you know, my farm, as we call it in real estate, and write down addresses. On my way home, I would do the same thing. When I was going to my kids' practices or whatever, when I was at my kids' game, if I was sending out letters or emails, I would do it, you know, hey, they're not playing right now. Okay, let's do this. I would network. You wouldn't believe how many police officers and firemen and stuff have their kids in Little League. Well, in Little League, the firemen and police officers, they come across burn houses, they come across hoarder houses, they come across elderly people that are in situations, you know, that they want to help. Maybe they have to sell quickly, you know, all these different things. And so it was always be marketing. And when I had my first flip, I mean, it was tough. I would stop by on my way to work. I would stop by on my lunch hours. I mean, all different times of the day. But it was making the time to get the stuff done. And my goal was to be able to spend more time with my family. So that was a priority. So it was like, while I'm doing this flip, how am I going to continue to get my marketing in? And here's the thing. It's like people look at, you know, college and it's 4 years and you have this degree and you're going to make all this money kind of stuff. And I do not knock college at all. But it takes time to do that. It takes anywhere from 2 to 4 years typically, plus all the education afterwards. And in medicine, we're continually gaining education. There's lots of different fields like that. So why is it that someone goes into real estate investing and decides that they're going to be a millionaire in a week and quit their job the following week, and doesn't happen, so this doesn't work, so they're on to the next, you know, shiny object? And I guarantee if people out there listening to this, if they committed to 6 months of doing everything it takes every week, you know, talking to 20 sellers, sending out, you know, 5 offers, because if you're not making offers, you're not going to get deals either.
Absolutely.
Yep, true.
And it's like, if you do you not think that at the end of 6 months, you're not going to get at least one deal? Absolutely. I mean, Phoenix is over 5 million people.
Yep. So let's jump into, so you're going to be with us February 14th at the Phoenix monthly meeting, right? You're going to give about an hour presentation or so, and then you're going to come down to Tucson with us February 15th. Yeah. So maybe talk about what you're going to be talking about on the 14th and 15th.
So the 14th and 15th, I'm going to go over basically my 3 strategies for people to become successful real estate investors. And the 3 things you've got to have, and it sounds so stupidly simple, it's like my triangle of real estate, is your marketing. So I'm going to go over your marketing, how you get that up and going. And then I'm going to go over your negotiations. And again, a lot of people in this country especially do not like to negotiate. It's like a 4-letter word. But there's simple strategies that you can do to find out if the seller is truly motivated and to get them to say yes. So we're going to go over some of those techniques. And then I'm going to talk about creative deal structuring, not just with your sellers, but also with your private money partners, and how you can do that to grow your business, because that's how I got started. So, and most of my deals I buy today are through some form of creative seller financing. And sometimes I use private money even to bring that deal down.
And that's one of the things that I wanted to ask you about, because you said when you first got started, you had private money right away. How did that happen? Because I know a lot of people, when they're getting started, they have no money. The people that's around them don't have any money. And yes, they're going out driving for dollars, looking for deals, but they don't have any money. How did you start out with having that access to private money?
Talking to everybody about what we were doing and being excited about the deal. Perfect. And not assuming just because someone is standing next to me in holy jeans and flip-flops that they don't have some money. I mean, we have landscapers that have $15,000, $20,000 that they would love to lend on, you know, a creative deal to give me the money to take it down. But all the way up to people who have a lot of money, but right now they don't see any opportunities and they want to get into real estate. And a lot of people, what I found when it came to private money is they want to do real estate, but they don't have the time. And so they live vicariously through the deal you're doing with them. And I've had more than one investor say, yeah, this is Maria, we're doing this house together. And I'm like, we're doing this house together?
Right.
Kind of stuff. But really it came to being excited, telling, hey, I've got this deal. I'm taking it down for this. We're going to put this much into it. And this is going to be the profit on it if it's a flip. Same at transactional funding. I've used a lot of that, especially when I used to wholesale. I know you guys are big on wholesaling. I don't do too much because I'm too greedy and I like to keep all the properties. But sometimes I did transactional funding, especially if I couldn't do a double close.
Can you explain just for the listeners, just transactional funding, what it is and maybe how you use it?
Sure. So the way I do it is I need $200,000 to take down a property, and I have a buyer, my wholesale end buyer, that agreed to buy it from me in 2 weeks or whatever for $220,000, but I got to take it down today. So I get my transactional funding. It can be anywhere from 24, 48 hours up to 30 days. Usually I talk these guys into doing 30 days because, I don't like to be crunched for time.
Yep.
So my transactional funding might give me, say, $200,000 for 2 points or at 2%, or they might want a flat fee. Typically, I'll do like a flat fee, and it'll vary depending on the risk involved. Okay. So I take it down with them. They put in all the money, and I make sure that it's safe and secure so that the house is worth more than what they're investing. And then in the case of wholesaling it, say I can't do a double close, then my end buyer comes in and does a second closing, and I pay off, say, for
the first
$220, and then I use $200 to pay off my transactional guy, and I collect $20,000.
Awesome.
So it's really to take down the property for a very short term until you get secondary financing or something else going on it.
Okay. Sounds good. Sounds good. So you got a lot of stuff that you're going to be teaching everybody as far as negotiations, marketing, and finding money. Let's take a brief break. And then when we come back, Maria, what I want to talk about is what you're currently doing, because I know you're doing a lot of creative financing deals. You're building that portfolio for the long term. So when we come back, let's hear from you in regards to that, and then we'll go right on. So let's take a brief break, hear a word from our sponsors, and we'll be right back.
This episode of the AZREIA Show is brought to you by AZREIA Business Associate, Zona Law Group. Zona Law Group handles numerous real estate matters with a focus on landlord-tenant law in Arizona. For more information, visit their site at zona.law.
All right, AZREIA, we are back with Maria Giordano, and she is a fix and flipper. She is a real estate investor, and she's been a part of AZREIA for many years, but now she's doing, things on a national scale. So Maria, we've been talking, about what you're going to be talking about in the class, but more importantly, about your history. Kind of bring us up to speed. What are you doing now, and how are you structuring your deals in your portfolio?
Sure. So for now, I'm actually doing more buy and holds than ever before. And because I really enjoy doing creative, different ways to take down the properties with sellers through seller financing, whether it's doing a wrap, doing lease options, different strategies like that, is how I'm taking down most of my properties. So AZREIA was going to do that summit or whatever, I think almost 2 years ago. And Alan was going to have a panel on that summit. And one of the questions that was going to be asked was, what would you do if you had to start all over? What would you do? And when COVID hit and stuff and everything came to a screeching halt, I started getting bored. I'm not traveling, I'm at home, I'm buying real estate or whatever. And I was talking to somebody else and I was complaining because I pretty much became like debt free. And I felt like I was useless sitting around doing nothing. And I didn't know what direction to go in my business. And his friend Jason said, Maria, you burnt it down. I'm like, burnt it down? What are you talking about? He's like, Maria, you're like a phoenix. You can rise from the ashes and do whatever you want right now. And that's when it occurred to me, gosh, if I had to start all over, having just my knowledge that I have today, what would I do? And when I started thinking about this, it was October and November of 2020. And I thought, well, let's do that. That sounds like fun. Okay. So I started putting my goals together. And as we all know, goals without a plan is a plan to fail. And so I put my goals together for my 1 year, my 5 year. My 5-year goal was to get 40 more doors in 5 years. And my 1 year goal was, let's see if I could do 10 the first year. So, and the reason why I say doors was because if a property has, if it's a single family or multifamily, we talk about how many doors it has for rentals.
Yep.
So I started putting that to works. And that's what I'm going to teach you guys Wednesday night during the drill down. Well, to make a long story short, 8 months in, I'm at 10 doors, and I was like, this is awesome. And doing that, I designed the lifestyle that I wanted to, because the thing that gets me is sometimes when you get so into your business and it's going so fast, suddenly the business owns you. And I wanted to recreate my rental portfolio so that it doesn't own me, I own it, if you know what I mean.
Yep.
And that's kind of like what we went and restructured everything. And I started out doing different strategies. I started out, okay, if I was one of my students and I don't have money to mail, what am I going to do? I'm like, what's on the MLS? And what do we always hear people say? You can't find deals on the MLS.
Mm-hmm.
Well, right away, I found a deal that was sitting there. I don't know why, don't care why. And I bought it because initially it had so much equity in it. I thought I was going to flip it. And so I thought, okay, I'm going to get my private money to put down the money and the rehab costs, and I'm going to flip this property. Well, when I started doing this, I thought, this is a really nice property. What if I do the burst strategy, which is buy, rehab, rent, refi on this first property, and then use that and go take down a second property? So that's what I did. I did the burst strategy. I cashed out my private money lender. So now I'm like, okay, we only have so much money. Say it was like $40,000. What can I do with $40,000? Oh, I know. Let's go look at for another property with a motivated seller who's a landlord who's tired of tenants and has a vacant property. Because there's a lot of those on right now, a lot of scared landlords. Yeah. So then the next one I took down was just that, somebody else who had a vacant property. Then I started talking to my contractors, my electricians, or whatever. So then I get a lead from my electrician on a neighbor's house that's been sitting there vacant for 3 years. Took that property down. And then I refied 2 of them together to pull out more money. And my properties are only, when I say pull out money, typically I only pull out like 50% if I'm using bank. And bank financing is not bad. We give them a lot of bad raps, but right now, if you're getting bank financing at 2.5% or 4%,
that's good.
That's better than what I'm getting from my private money lenders. So that's why I chose to do that. I used private money to get me up and going, and then I turned to bank financing to get this going. So from there, I ended up getting 5 properties, a total of 10 doors. One of them was a 6-plex, which was also on owner financing that I only had to put, I think it was 40, was it 40? I don't remember exactly. I think it was like 40,000 down. There's been so many different ones that I've done seller financing on.
So Maria, before you gloss over that, because I know a lot of people, they say, well, in this market, why would somebody want to seller finance their property? Why don't they just put it on the MLS and just sell it? Kind of give us just a few reasons why seller financing is a good strategy and how you position it with those owners so it's a win-win for both parties.
Perfect. Great question. And it's one that is often overlooked. So when you're a landlord and you've owned a property 10, 20, whatever years, when you go to sell it, you have some pretty big, especially the longer you've owned it, you have some pretty big tax implications. Mm-hmm. So what if I, as a real estate investor, can come in and help you pay the government less in taxes? Now, these landlords, and that's why I choose more going after landlords, is because they're already used to getting a check every month, whether it's electronically and it just shows up in their account, or, we had a guy that has 200 doors and goes around, he's a farmer, goes around and collects his checks every month. Either way, they're used to going out and used to having money coming in. Well, what if I can give that landlord less taxes to pay in. He's not going to have all the recapture and all that kind of stuff that he has to pay in when he sells the property. What if I can give him money every month for his property and he no longer has to worry about tenants and termites? And, I had one landlord who was on Machu Picchu and he got a call from his tenant that the toilet was clogged.
Oh, wow.
And that was it was a great sunset until that phone call comes. So what if I can guarantee these guys that they're not going to have to worry about that? And that appeals to these landlords. Now, here's the thing is I tell them, look, I am not a lawyer. I am not a CPA, financial planner, anything. I said, however, don't take my word for it. You should really talk with your estate planner or your CPA or whatever and see if this is right for you. Amazingly, especially right now, they go and talk to their accountants and their accountants are all like, oh, heck yes.
Yeah,
this is going to save you a ton of money on taxes. And they like that. The other thing is what I'm finding is a lot of these older landlords want to retire and they want to have money coming in just like from their tenants. They want it coming into them so they can travel and do whatever, and they can have a guaranteed set amount every month.
A lot of great points there. You're giving away the farm now.
Oh, we have so much more to go.
I know, right? So if you're liking this information, so this is what you're going to be talking about along these lines, February 14th at our Phoenix monthly meeting and the 15th in Tucson. So be sure to learn more from Maria. Come check us out. Come network. And to go a little further, because you mentioned the drill down. So Maria agreed for everyone listen, to hang out with us for a week, right? So February 19th, she's going to do a full day class. So if you like what you hear on the 14th and 15th, and by the way, 14th is Valentine's Day. So are you bringing some dating advice and husband-wife advice?
I'm telling you, if you might just be a real estate junkie like me, if one, I planned a C-section around a real estate conference, and two, if your idea of the perfect Valentine's date is going to a real estate meeting and learning a ton of stuff so that your future Valentine can be even better.
Yeah,
yes,
absolutely.
It's going to be worth it. So you're going to come out on that Saturday, on the 19th, you're going to do a full day
and we're doing the Wednesday,
correct.
the 16th.
So yes, if you choose to come to the Saturday class, you're going to do the Wednesday drill down, which is a 6 to 8 Wednesday night. And it's just going to be about how you mentioned, how you started from scratch, right? And just doing it all over again. So that comes along with the Saturday class. So tell us about what's going on the 19th, what you're going to talk about on that Saturday.
So on the 19th, I'm going to show everybody, take them through the steps that they can do so that they can leave with a blueprint to get started and implement. So I'm going to take you through the marketing. In fact, I'm going to give you my new marketing letter that I'm getting, and this sounds crazy, a 27% return on it. But it's not just the letter, it's how I combine it with the lists and other motivations to get that return. I'm going to take you through different marketing strategies. So you pick the one that works for you. So often I hear people like, oh God, I can't door knock. I'm like, that's okay. I don't door knock. I send someone else to do it for me.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm going to take you through other marketing strategies like driving for dollars, how you look for stuff. We talked about some of that. We'll go over, okay, you have no money, but maybe you're good talking to sellers, but there's other investors that can't stand talking to sellers, but they have all these old leads. Can you partner with them? You take their old leads, their follow-up, and find properties that way. I find a gold mine even in my own follow-ups all the time. I mean, follow-up is key. So we'll talk about that. I'll talk about the negotiation strategies, why yes is bad, how you anchor your sellers and really find out what their needs are. And that all happens through, and all negotiations is a fancy word for communications. You're just talking, you know, and then we'll go into the private money a little bit and definitely more on the creative deal structurings. I'm going to plan on giving everybody my subject to checklist, which is a killer awesome checklist. And there still are subject to properties out there. There are people that are willing to do it. You can do wraps, all sorts of different strategies with that. So we have lots of gifts for you guys. And then of course you'll be taking away your plan to implement.
Awesome.
Right.
Awesome.
Right.
Exciting.
So guys, you can get all of that information by going to AZREIA.org and go to the calendar, and you'll see the whole lineup for Maria. So February 14th, 15th, 16th, and 19th. So the whole week. So you have an opportunity to learn about real estate, learn about subject to deals, creative financing, raising private money, marketing, negotiations. I'm running out of breath here, Maria. You're giving away everything.
I just love doing this.
Awesome.
So she has a passion for it. Me and Mike do, AZREIA does. So come on out and join us. Be a part of the family and learn and learn and learn and learn.
Absolutely.
I love it's like a fresh perspective, right? Because you always hear wholesale, flip, landlord, but like this is the stuff that gets you to become a wholesaler and a flipper, right? Understanding these components that you're talking about. So I really like how you put it all together. So that's great.
Yeah. And this is the stuff, like you said, it can be used with any strategy out there.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, how do you start? And so that's what I'm going to teach you guys, how you can start. And for me, speaking at AZREIA is like coming home, because this is where I got my start.
Awesome.
Yes.
Over a decade ago. And I was like so many people. I mean, I look at when I speak it, my job is to get you out of seminar land and out there doing deals. And I know what it's like to be sitting on the fence, not sure if you want to do it, scared, everything else. And then just going, oh God, I just want to get my first deal. And then you're next and you're next. And it's awesome.
It is. And all of us, we've each been in the business 10 years and, surrounding yourself with people, the seasoned investors at the meetings and stuff like that. There's something to be said about 10 years. I don't know. I've just been thinking about it a lot. Like there's just like
most businesses don't even make it out of their first couple of years.
Yep.
Yes. There's just by having a conversation with someone that's been around, there's so much to learn. So come and network and get to know Maria and watch your presentation. It's going to be great.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Maria. Thank you so much, Mike. In parting, guys, we just want to make sure that you are being engrossed into the networking, engrossed into the education. That way you can take what you're learning, what you're seeing, and go out there and start taking action. So that is the main goal, is to get the education so you can go out and implement it. So any last words, Mike, Maria, before we sign off?
See you guys in a month.
Yeah. See you in a few weeks. I'm excited for you to be here. And yeah, thanks for being here today. Definitely.
All right, guys. Looking forward to seeing you, Maria. See you in a few weeks, guys. Go to AZREIA.org. Sign up now. Get all of the information that you need in regards to Maria's event. And remember, AZREIA do not put these events on to make money. We put these events on so you can get the right education from the right people. Because we can bring in gurus from across guru land, but we want to bring in people that are homegrown, based here in Arizona. Like Maria said, she's been a part of the REIA for over 10 years. So it's not a sales pitch or anything like that. We want you to get the quality education.
Awesome.
All right, guys, have a great day. Thank you so much for being here, and we will see you on the next episode of the AZREIA Show.
Thanks for listening to the AZREIA Show with your hosts, Marcus Maloney and Mike Prete. We hope you enjoyed this episode. If you found this information valuable, head over to AZREIA.org and learn more about our community.